Some might suggest this is all becoming rather embarrassing for one of the biggest corporations in the United Kingdom today. That's right, we're talking about the BBC and more importantly their star presenter for over 20 years, the now disgraced newsreader Hugh Edwards, who appeared in court and was charged at Westminster Magistrates Court. But what happens now? More explosions ready to go off as ever. Let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your kindness to join me. I always find these stories particularly quite sad, in fact, because when you look at people that you've watched for years, whether it be somebody that you really respected and maybe they go off the rails a bit, it's very, very sad, because Hugh Edwards, without a doubt, was a consummate professional broadcaster. He was the sort of person that we all look towards over here in the United Kingdom for bringing us the news that truly mattered in a very professional and warm way. Let's not forget, he was the man that announced the tragic news, of course, for all of us around the world on the demise of our wonderful Queen Elizabeth, our reigning monarch of over 70 years. And one might have suspected, of course, that this would have been the pinnacle. There were all sorts of things attributed to him, that he could suddenly become Sir, and things were looking pretty good. And then, of course, he went off the rails. Now, there's no need to go into the background and the disgracefulness of that. That's terribly sad for him and his family. I do feel incredibly sorry for him on that respect. Whatever problems he has, I often say this on the show, he is a human being and we have to be respectful of that. Whatever you think of him, that is the element of life, isn't it? But what's interesting now is the finger are pointing more towards exactly what BBC bosses truly knew, because you see, at the time they basically claimed that it was a bit of a shock. It was simply a man who was having some sort of mental breakdown, mental illness. But these particular historical events actually do date back now a couple of years prior to this. As many people know, Hugh was suspended just over a year ago now on full salary, and only recently was revealed to be still the highest paid presenter in the BBC. This is because he was allowed to keep his salary coming in while an investigation was ongoing into the alleged mental illness issue. You understand how this works. But moving forward now for you, this is where it gets very difficult, because clearly people knew other things, and as ever we have to say allegedly. And as this is a publicly driven funded corporation, people will be asking for, well, who knew what and why are we paying for it? And it literally could be, and as I pointed this out in a previous broadcast very delicately a couple of days ago, that you indeed, or the BBC, will be has to put back into the coffers, seemingly because lots of people would have known. Now, let's not forget, everybody working literally on the ground on the BBC knew these rumours, but allegedly, a little bit like this morning's scandal hit Philip Schofield, nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything. You know how this works now. It's incredible to think that everybody seemingly doesn't see anything until, of course, the worst hits. This is not over yet, and literally could be a bombshell for the BBC that they can't escape from. Like everything in the mainstream media, they've decided to play this particular role down. But for how long? And for all those on very high corporate wages at the BBC, some answers will need to be revealed. But as ever, they could have problems with recollections. How that phrase comes back and back. For you, sadly, Hugh Edwards, everything brought on by himself, he is a disgrace. Career in tatters, ruined family life, and some suggest he could even spend some time inside His Majesty's prison. What a way to leave. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.